The discovery that shook the galaxy. The red sand of Kepler 400 and 42 bits swirled in gentle spirals around Dr. Zora Vex as she knelt beside the most remarkable discovery in galactic history. Her 6 arms moved with practiced precision, carefully brushing away millennia of dust from what appeared to be carved stone, but her instruments told a different story. The material was neither stone nor metal, but something else entirely, something that shouldn't exist. "Commander Thakmore, you need to see this," she called to the towering Centaurian military officer who stood guard over the excavation site. His 4 eyes scanned the horizon constantly, watching for any sign of the raiders who had been plaguing archaeological expeditions in this sector. The commander's massive frame cast a shadow over the dig site as he approached. His species had evolved on a high-gravity world, making him twice the size of most coalition members, with thick, armored skin that gleamed like polished obsidian under the alien sun. "What is it now, Doctor?" "Another pottery fragment from some long-dead civilization." Zara's mandibles clicked in frustration. The military never understood the importance of archaeological work. "This is different, Commander. These ruins, they're older than anything we found before. My dating equipment shows they're at least 12 million years old." "Impossible," Thakmore rumbled. "The oldest known civilization is the Primarch Empire, and they only achieved spaceflight 8 million years ago." "That's what I thought too," Zara replied, her voice trembling with excitement. "But look at this." She activated her holographic display, showing a 3-dimensional scan of the structure they'd uncovered. "This isn't just a building. It's a complex machine. The engineering is beyond anything in our current technology database." The hologram rotated slowly, revealing intricate passages that seemed to follow no architectural logic known to galactic civilization. Energy conduits ran through the walls in patterns that resembled neural networks, and at the center sat a chamber filled with crystalline formations that pulsed with a faint rhythmic light. Professor Chen Wei, the human linguist attached to their expedition, looked up from his translation work. Unlike most humans in the coalition, Chen had been born on New Shanghai, one of the outer colony worlds. He was considered one of the brightest minds in xenolinguistics, capable of deciphering dead languages that had puzzled scholars for centuries. "Dr. Vex," Chen said quietly, "I think you should look at these symbols I've been working on." Zara scuttled over to where Chen sat surrounded by holographic displays, showing various carved symbols and mathematical equations. Her compound eyes focused on the work with intense interest. "I've been running these through every linguistic database in the Coalition archives," Chen continued. "The basic structure is unlike anything in known galactic languages, but there are underlying patterns that seem familiar." "Familiar how?" Thakmore demanded, his voice carrying the edge of suspicion that came naturally to military minds. Chen hesitated. "Well, they share certain grammatical structures with ancient human languages. Specifically, they seem to follow syntactic patterns similar to Proto-Indo-European, but evolved far beyond anything that existed on Earth." "That's ridiculous," Thakmore snorted. "Humans have only been spacefaring for 3,000 years. Your species was still hitting rocks together when these ruins were built." The dismissal stung, but Chen had grown used to such comments. Humans were considered the newest members of galactic civilization, having only achieved faster-than-light travel relatively recently. Most other species viewed them as energetic but primitive newcomers to the cosmic community. "Nevertheless," Zara interjected, "Professor Chen's analysis is correct. I've been running my own tests on the biological traces we found in the ruins." She paused, her mandibles clicking nervously. "The DNA fragments we've recovered, they're definitely humanoid in origin." The silence that followed was broken only by the whistling of Kepler 442 bits' twin moons passing overhead. Commander Thakmore's 4 eyes narrowed dangerously. "You're suggesting humans built these ruins 12 million years ago." "I'm not suggesting anything," Zara replied carefully. "I'm simply reporting what the evidence shows." "The evidence is wrong," Thakmore stated flatly. "Run the tests again." I've run them 17 times, Commander. The results are consistent. As if responding to their conversation, the crystalline formations in the central chamber began to pulse more rapidly. The faint light grew brighter, and a low harmonic resonance filled the air. All three researchers felt it in their bones, a deep, thrumming vibration that seemed to wake something primal in their nervous systems. "What's happening?" Chen whispered, his hand instinctively moving to his throat as he felt the vibrations there. Zara's instruments went wild, registering energy readings that shot far beyond their normal parameters. "The structure is activating. Everyone back." But before they could retreat, the crystalline chamber erupted in brilliant light. Holographic displays materialized throughout the ruins, showing star charts that depicted the galaxy as it had existed millions of years ago. The displays were clearly meant to be read by someone, but the perspective was wrong for any known species, except for bipedal humanoids of roughly human proportions. In the center of the main display, a figure appeared. It was clearly humanoid, but taller and more refined than modern humans, with features that spoke of millions of years of directed evolution. When it spoke, the words came in perfect coalition standard, though the accent was unlike anything they'd heard before. "Greetings, descendants of the scattered seeds. If you are seeing this message, it means the time of awakening draws near. We are the architects, and this galaxy is our greatest work." The hologram gestured to the star charts surrounding them. "Long ago, when this galaxy was young and empty of intelligent life, we spread ourselves across the stars. We planted the seeds of civilization on 1,000 worlds, guided the evolution of countless species, and built the infrastructure that would one day support the great community you now call the Coalition." Commander Thakmore's weapon was in his hand before he realized he'd drawn it, though what he planned to do with it against a hologram was unclear. His training had prepared him for many threats, but not for having his entire understanding of galactic history overturned in a matter of minutes. "This is impossible," he muttered. "Humans are primitives. They barely had fire when my people achieved spaceflight." The hologram seemed to hear him, turning to face the Centaurian directly. "The humans you know are not the humans we were when the great catastrophe came, the one that would have destroyed all life in this galaxy. We made a choice. We scattered ourselves across space and time, seeding our genetic legacy on countless worlds, then went to sleep." "Sleep?" Chen asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "We became dormant, our consciousness distributed across the vast network we had built throughout the galaxy. Our bodies evolved into the forms you now recognize, simple and primitive, so that when the time came, we would not be seen as a threat. We waited, and we watched, and we prepared." The star charts shifted, showing the progression of galactic civilization over millions of years. Species rose and fell, empires expanded and collapsed, but through it all, there was a subtle pattern, a guiding hand that had shaped the development of intelligent life throughout the galaxy. Every major breakthrough in galactic technology, every leap forward in understanding, every solution to seemingly impossible problems. We were there, working through our descendants, ensuring that civilization would flourish when the time was right. Zara felt her world crumbling around her. Everything she thought she knew about galactic history, about the development of civilization, about humanity's place in the cosmos, all of it was wrong. "But why reveal this now?" she asked. "Why break your silence after millions of years?" The hologram's expression grew grave. "Because the catastrophe we fled from is returning. The Devourers, beings from beyond this galaxy who consume all life and energy they encounter, are coming back. And this time, we cannot run." The display shifted again, showing the edge of the galaxy where space itself seemed to be going dark. Stars were winking out one by one, leaving behind empty voids where entire star systems had once existed. "The Coalition has grown strong, but not strong enough to face what's coming. You will need the architects to awaken fully, to reclaim our technology and our power. But that awakening comes with a price." "What price?" Commander Thakmore demanded, though his aggressive posture had given way to something closer to dread. The humans scattered throughout the galaxy, every colony world, every research station, every individual human in coalition space. They are all potential architects. When the awakening comes, they will remember who they truly are. Some will choose to remain as they are now, but others— the hologram paused. Others will become something far beyond what you consider human. The implications hit them all at once. Humans weren't just another member species of the coalition. They were sleeping giants, scattered throughout every level of galactic civilization. They were researchers and traders, diplomats and soldiers, engineers and artists. They were everywhere, and they had been waiting. "How long do we have?" Chen asked, and there was something different in his voice now, an authority that hadn't been there before. "The process has already begun," the hologram replied. "The activation of this site will send a signal across the galaxy, reaching every dormant installation we built. The awakening cannot be stopped, only guided." As if to emphasize the point, alarms began blaring from their shuttle's communication array. Reports were flooding in from across coalition space, ancient structures activating on dozens of worlds, mysterious energy signatures appearing in sectors that had been empty for millions of years, and humans everywhere beginning to experience strange dreams and visions. Commander Thakmore realized with dawning horror that the balance of power in the galaxy was about to shift dramatically. The coalition had been built on the assumption that all member species were roughly equal in potential, with differences in technology and development bridged by cooperation and trade. But if humans were truly the descendants of the galaxy's first and greatest civilization, "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Nothing," the hologram replied. "The choice of how to proceed belongs to the awakened architects and the coalition they have helped to build. We only ask that you remember, we are not conquerors. We are gardeners, and this galaxy is our garden. We have spent millions of years nurturing it to bloom." The hologram began to fade, but not before delivering one final message. "To those who would seek to suppress this awakening or harm the emerging architects, know this: you cannot stop what has already begun. The seeds were planted too deeply, scattered too widely, and have grown too strong. The galaxy belongs to all who dwell within it, but the architects will no longer sleep." With that, the display vanished, leaving the three researchers alone in the ruins with the weight of galactic history settling on their shoulders. In the distance, their shuttle's communication array continued to sound alerts as reports flooded in from across coalition space. The age of ignorance was ending, and none of them were prepared for what would come next. The Awakening Protocol. The Coalition Emergency Assembly had never seen chaos like this. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the massive chamber on Nexus Prime, their voices raised in panic, anger, and disbelief. The usual decorum of galactic diplomacy had evaporated in the 3 days since Dr. Zara Vex's report had reached the capital. High Chancellor Nix Prime, a crystalline being whose species communicated through harmonic resonances, struggled to maintain order as speaker after speaker demanded answers that no one had. Her translucent form flickered with stress patterns that made the entire chamber ring like wind chimes in a hurricane. "The motion before us is clear," declared Ambassador Cathvora of the Draconian Hegemony, her serpentine form coiled around her speaking platform. "We must contain this human awakening before it destabilizes the entire galactic order." Murmurs of agreement rippled through sections of the assembly, but they were met with equally vocal opposition from other delegates. The human representatives sat in stunned silence, most of them as shocked by the revelations as everyone else. Dr. Sarah Martinez, Earth's senior ambassador, finally stood to address the chamber. Like most humans in government service, she had been selected more for her diplomatic skills than any particular distinction, as humanity was still considered a junior partner in coalition affairs. Now every eye in the chamber was fixed on her with a mixture of fear, suspicion, and desperate hope for answers she didn't have. "Honorable delegates," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation matrix, I want to assure you that the human governments were as surprised by these revelations as anyone else. We have no more information about these architects than what Dr. Vex has provided." "How convenient," hissed Ambassador Cathfora. "The descendant species claims ignorance while their ancient technology activates across the galaxy." "Because it's the truth," Martins replied firmly. "Our historical records show no knowledge of any prehistoric galactic civilization. If we are truly descended from these architects, that knowledge has been lost to us for millions of years." Lost or hidden? The question came from Commander Thakmore, who had been rushed to Nexus Prime to give his first-hand account of the discovery. His massive frame dominated the witness stand as he addressed the assembly. "In the past 72 hours, I have witnessed things that challenge everything we thought we knew about this galaxy." He activated a holographic display showing a galactic map dotted with thousands of pulsing lights. These are confirmed activation sites, ancient installations coming online across Coalition space and beyond. The pattern is too coordinated to be random, too extensive to be coincidental. The map zoomed in on several sectors, showing detailed scans of structures that had simply materialized where empty space had existed before. Some were vast, ring-shaped constructs larger than planets. Others were delicate crystalline formations that seemed to fold space around themselves in impossible ways. More troubling, Thakmore continued, are the reports from human colonies throughout the galaxy. Individuals are experiencing what they describe as genetic memories, knowledge and abilities that they never learned but somehow possess. As if summoned by his words, the chamber's main communication array chimed with an incoming priority transmission. High Chancellor Nyx Prime's harmonic signature shifted to one of reluctant acceptance as she authorized the connection. The holographic display materialized to show Professor Chen Wei, but he was not the same man who had discovered the ruins on Kepler 442 bits. His posture was straighter, his eyes held depths that seemed to contain eons of experience, and when he spoke, his voice carried an authority that commanded immediate attention. "Honorable delegates of the Coalition," he said, "I am speaking to you from the Architect installation on Kepler 442 bits, but I am no longer simply Professor Chen Wei. I am more." Gasps and alarmed chittering filled the chamber. Several delegates reached for weapons or communication devices, but High Chancellor Nyx Prime's harmonic pulse commanded silence. "Please, continue," she resonated. "The awakening process is not what many of you fear," Chen explained. "We are not becoming conquerors or losing our humanity. Instead, we are remembering who we truly are and why we chose to sleep." The display shifted to show images that made several delegates recoil in terror. Dark shapes moved through space, consuming entire star systems and leaving nothing but empty void behind. These were not ships or constructs, but living entities of impossible size, their forms defying comprehension. "The Devourers," Chen continued, "are not from this galaxy or this dimension. They are entropy given form, the universe's tendency toward chaos and death made manifest. 12 million years ago, they nearly succeeded in consuming all life in our galaxy. But you stopped them," Ambassador Martinez said, though her voice carried more hope than certainty. "No," Chen replied grimly. "We fled. The architects were powerful, but not powerful enough to face the Devourers directly. So we implemented the long sleep protocol, scattering ourselves across time and space, becoming dormant while seeding the galaxy with the tools and knowledge that would be needed when the Devourers returned." The chamber erupted in shouting as the implications sank in. If the architects had fled before, what hope did the current galactic civilization have? "You abandoned us," roared Ambassador Cathfora. "You left the galaxy defenseless while you hid." "We left the galaxy prepared," Chen corrected, his voice cutting through the noise like a laser. "Every major advancement in Coalition technology, every breakthrough that brought your species together, every solution to the problems you thought you solved yourselves, we guided those developments. The Coalition itself exists because we shaped its creation." The holographic display changed again, showing the development of galactic civilization over millions of years. The pattern was clear once it was pointed out. Subtle influences that had nudged countless species toward cooperation rather than conquest, technological developments that had appeared just when they were needed most, and solutions to seemingly insurmountable problems that had arrived through the work of human researchers and diplomats. The long sleep was not an abandonment, Chen continued. It was the most difficult sacrifice imaginable, giving up our power and consciousness to become the gardeners of a galaxy we hoped would one day be strong enough to face what we could not. High Chancellor Nyx Prime's crystalline form pulsed with complex harmonics as she processed the information. And now, are we strong enough? With the awakened architects, yes. The Coalition has created something we never achieved in our original form. True unity among different species. The Devourers consume individuality and diversity, but they cannot digest cooperation. Together, we can do what the architects alone could not. Pretty words, Commander Thakmore rumbled. But can you prove it? Show us this power you claim to have. Chen's image smiled, and for a moment he looked like the humble linguist they had known. Very well, Commander. Look to the edge of the galaxy. Every display in the chamber shifted to show the galactic rim, where the advancing darkness of consumed star systems had been growing steadily. But now something new appeared, lines of brilliant light stretching between star systems, forming a vast network that pulsed with coordinated energy. The architect installations are coming fully online, Chen explained. Not just the ones we've discovered, but thousands more that have been dormant for millions of years. They're connecting to form the greatest construction project in galactic history, a barrier that can hold back the Devourers while we prepare our counterattack. The network of light expanded as they watched, spreading throughout Coalition space and beyond. Each connection represented not just a defensive position, but a gathering point where awakened humans were taking their places as guardians of the galaxy they had helped nurture. This is impossible, whispered Dr. Zora Vex, who had been watching the proceedings with growing amazement. The energy requirements alone would be beyond our ability to calculate. Nothing is impossible for those who plan in geological timescales, Chen replied. We have had 12 million years to prepare for this moment. Every sun in this galaxy has been subtly modified to serve as a power source when needed. Every inhabitable world has been seeded with the materials required for the final phase. The galaxy itself has become our weapon. But even as the defensive network spread, new reports were flooding in from across Coalition space. Human populations everywhere were experiencing the awakening, but not all of them were embracing their heritage. Some resisted the genetic memories, choosing to remain as they had been. Others transformed so completely that they seemed to become entirely different beings. On Earth itself, the awakening was causing unprecedented upheaval. Major cities were evacuating as ancient structures rose from beneath the ground, and the planet's magnetic field was fluctuating wildly as dormant technology came online. Humanity's homeworld was revealing itself to be not just the birthplace of one species, but the central hub of a galactic network that spanned the entire cosmos. What about those who don't want to become architects? Ambassador Martinez asked. Do they have a choice? Of course, Chen replied. The awakening is an invitation, not a compulsion. Those who choose to remain as they are will be protected and valued just as they always have been. But those who accept their heritage will gain abilities and knowledge far beyond what any single species has ever possessed. As if to demonstrate, Chen gestured, and the space around him seemed to fold in impossible ways. For just a moment, he appeared to be standing simultaneously in the ruins on Kepler 442 bits and in the Coalition Assembly Chamber, his form solid and present in both locations. The barriers between space and time become more fluid when you understand their true nature, he explained casually, as though reality bending was an everyday occurrence. The architects learned to work with the fundamental forces of the universe rather than against them. The demonstration sent fresh waves of panic through the assembly. If humans could manipulate space and time at will, what did that mean for the balance of power in the galaxy? We do not seek to rule, Chen said, as though reading their thoughts. We seek to preserve. The galaxy you have built together is more beautiful and diverse than anything the original architects ever imagined. Our role is to protect it, not to change it. High Chancellor Nix Prime's harmonic signature shifted to one of careful consideration. And if we refuse your protection, if the Coalition chooses to face the Devourers without architect assistance, Chen's expression grew sad. Then you will die, and the galaxy will be consumed, and our 12 million-year sacrifice will have been for nothing. The choice is yours, but the consequences will be felt by every living being in this galaxy. The chamber fell silent as the weight of the decision settled over them. They could accept the awakening of the architects and fundamentally alter the nature of galactic civilization, or they could reject it and face annihilation at the hands of entities beyond their ability to comprehend. How long do we have to decide? High Chancellor Nix Prime asked. The decision has already been made, Chen replied gently. The Devourers have accelerated their approach. Our sensors indicate they will breach the galactic rim within 1 standard year. The defensive network will be ready, but only if the Coalition chooses to work with us rather than against us. As if summoned by his words, alarms began sounding throughout Nexus Prime. The massive space station shuddered as something vast moved past it, something that registered on sensors as kilometers long but cast no shadow and reflected no light. What was that? Commander Thakmore demanded. An architect vessel, Chen replied calmly. The first of many. We are taking positions throughout the galaxy, preparing for the final confrontation. The age of sleeping is over, and the age of protection has begun. The transmission ended, leaving the Coalition assembly in stunned silence. Outside the great windows of the chamber, they could see more shapes moving through space, vast constructs that had simply appeared as though they had always been there, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. The galaxy would never be the same, but perhaps that was exactly what it needed to survive. In the days that followed, as the Coalition struggled to adapt to the new reality, one thing became clear: the humans had never been the junior partners in galactic civilization. They had been its secret guardians all along, and now they were awakening to fulfill a destiny that had been written in the stars long before any of the current species had ever dreamed of reaching for the heavens. The forgotten architects were forgotten no more, and the galaxy would either stand united under their protection or fall divided before an enemy that had already consumed countless universes. The choice, as it had always been, belonged to all who called the galaxy home.